Oh, hello. I hope you had a really good Christmas. Um, I need to give myself a bit of a slap in the face and tell myself get on with it, because clearly I've been lacking recently, and every stream has started off with "I'm sorry, but," right? Um, and I need to change this for next year because, well, this cat ain't gonna make itself. So much as I've lost one, potentially more now, looking at my pile, of the little wooden things that make doing the bigger motif so much easier. I do need to just shut up and get on with it, because it is doable without the little wooden things. She says just checking how many of the wooden things she's actually got. Hang on. Can I not count? 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, I've lost one. That's right. Let me do something with these before I lose them again. Because they're small and they have a small amount of elastic, they do tend to run away. And I need something I can attach them to. These holders, these are the little wooden ones. I got them off eBay, but they match identically to the big ones that I got off Etsy. But they don't seem to make the small ones anymore, or I'd have ordered a couple more. When I say I've lost it, I'm not going to show you Mount Crapmore, but I have a pile of crap. Mount Crapmore is, well, it's not a hill, it is a mountain. And as a result, if it may have fallen into the foothills and been covered up with other things. I did have quick look, but it was a quick look. As a result, it was not yet found, but it is not gone. I am confident of that. It's just hiding. It could be on the table, which is slightly inundated as part of Mount Crapmore. It is sufficiently big that a table is under there. There's also a chair under there, actually. So that'll give you a size approximation for Mount Crapmore. Pretty damn large is the short answer. So I'm just looking around now for is something to join them together with. You're gonna leap like I've smacked you in the head, aren't you, Doug? Because I want this. Which end is which? Never mind, for the whole thing. Oh no, it's not what I thought it was. Another one down here then. Oh, shush, animals. The moment there's a rustle, these animals leap like their lives depend upon it. I know what I've got. That's what it is for now. So yeah, I do want to apologise for my lack of enthusiasm over the last few months. And it is purely stupidity, really. But over the last couple of weeks, because technically I've had is it a week off now, or is it 2? I've lost track already. I've had some time off work. This has helped. For when you're not dealing with stuff that drags you down all day, you can at least deal with the stuff that only drags you down when you're not at work. And so I do feel better about myself. I'm not going to say good. I'm not going to say back to normal. But I do feel slightly better. I do feel a bit guilty about Mount Crapmore. This is a good thing. This suggests a element of healthy brain cells. See it fly, but see, what I don't understand is that I get up reasonably early. I mean, not stupidly early, because, well, I'm on holiday. And I don't need to. And I mooch around a bit, and it's tea time, and I don't know where the time goes. By the time I've done tea, by the time I've mooched, it's bedtime. And the days fly by and nothing good comes of it. And this is part of the problem, is that due to living alone and not being forced to maintain more social standards, if I want to eat at 3 in the morning, I can eat at 3 in the morning. If I don't want to eat till 7 o'clock at night, I don't eat till 7 o'clock at night. As a result, it makes the days disappear, because you eat when you're hungry, not when you're not. Do this because you want to and not because you don't. And as a result of all of that, you don't have those time markers that are normal. And it means that by the time that I'm kind of feeling prepared and ready for the day, it's bedtime and I'm tired now. Because I've spent all day blithering about doing nothing useful. I say that's not entirely true. I've played with some computer things. I've watched some computer things videos. I wrote a thing. I did get that thing written in the end. That I was battling AI with. I did manage to get that sorted. And I have sufficiently working thing that I am happy. But it was almost I'm doing it because I don't want to do all the things that I should be doing kind of project. And I need to quit doing some of those. I really, really do. And so I'm just trying to work out. That's where that goes. So it is. I do find that just sit still, animals. They don't help. No, you do not help. That's right. You can't even stand on my leg without destroying the house and my jumper, which you've now ripped a hole in. Because you can't work out where to put 2 of your paws. Yeah. And so I spend my entire day mooching around, starting off with a little bit of a plan of today I'm going to do this. Yeah, don't worry, they get plenty of hugs. But as all dogs do, all dogs can never have too much hugs. All dogs can never have too much food. So these two will tell you that they are starving to death and that I never loved them, which is far from true. There are times that I question my sanity, but they are very much, very loved. Although, you little crackhead, there are times, aren't there? You're the one that gets me the most, yes. You're the one who makes me doubt my questions, yes. Yawn. That's right, you try and headbutt me. I managed to dodge that one. Yes, I did. So yeah, so I do find that days run away from me, because by the time, the dogs have barked at 25,000 ants moving in Nova Scotia that I was completely unaware of because it doesn't matter. Looking at you, little miss. It is... I just find that, as you say, Christy, the biggest problem is well, just to let you know, because I know you've been here before, but these are my 2 little friends. And little crackhead is the brown one. She has, I swear, a form of ADHD. Now, it's not technically a bad thing. But it does mean that she is very difficult to settle. In that she almost gets miffed because her brother will get a proper hug. Well, so would she if she stood still long enough. You know, she'll kind of do an alien face hugger leap, and splat into you, which is not much fun when it's, 45-pounder dog. And she'll leap at you, but pretty much the moment she's landed, oh, a squirrel, and she fucks off again. So you never actually get to give her a hug. And so all she remembers is that she wanted one and didn't get one. Because it is true dog format. I want to go in, I want to go out, I want to go in, I want to go out. She does this with everything. So she comes up, literally, she'll come to you and you kind of look and go, well, come on up then. So she gets up and pretty much by the time that last paw touches your leg, she's getting off. It's 5. She's always been this way. But she gets on, she gets off, she gets on, she gets off, she gets on, she gets off, she gets on, she gets off. All the while, I am not the skinniest human. In fact, I'm not the fattest human by a long, long way. I am not a my 600-pound live contestant. I am nowhere near big enough for that. But I have reasonably large legs. There is sufficient room that, well, if she thought about it and planned it well enough, she could possibly even curl up and precariously balance on one thigh, right? But she can't stand on it. Now, she is part mountain goat, so she'll stand on your shoulder, which is distinctly smaller than my thigh, but she can't stand on my thigh. She falls off. And of course, when she falls off into things, because she is clumsy. So she is known for wiping out my computer desk with a drink on it, breaking keyboards. She's broken 2. Knocking off my lace pillow. Generally causing mayhem. Wagging her tail, splattering drink everywhere, knocking the cup off. Pretty much. It's either that or she needs to find some rabbits to chase. One or the other. Because they can off move. She needs something. Yes, you. Yes, you. You fell off and you only had 2 feet on me. Yes, you did. Oh, big yawn. Yes. Oh, dear me. It's a hard life being a dog. One of the things that does make me laugh a lot about my dogs is that we get up in the morning, whether it's a work morning or not, and I'll have slept 6-7 hours, right? And they're all excited to get up. They get up, they come down the stairs, and they go straight back to bed for like another 4 or 5 hours. And it's kind of like, oh dear me, did I wake the sleeping dog? There are toys that so what? The biggest problem she has, as I say, is that she wants the hug, but she's hyperness and very easily distracted by literally anything as small as even a leaf moving. As a result, it means you never get the hug that you could have done because your brain has wandered off and thought of strangeness, and so you don't actually get the huggies, even though you're welcome to them. I don't want to be licked, though. No. I did wash my hands. I know you may not believe me. You're not my mother, but I did wash my hands. I did. But it is nice when she, I want to give her hugs. You know, like all dogs, you want to hug them. You want to show affection and show that you care and do all and play things and chase ball around the garden with them, because we do that. Generally not so much in the winter because, well, the ground's constantly wet and horrible. Rory doesn't get the concept of chase the ball. That's purely an Amy thing. Wow. You've laid down, but you're licking my damn hand, dog. If you stay there, you can stay there, you know. You can. You could have a snooze there if you really wanted. You could. One of the things that she does do, which is kind of scary for those who are not ready for it, which is basically anyone but me, she comes up and she literally rams her nose in your face. And I don't just mean in your face, I mean on the end of your mouth, quite hard, to the point that it is quite scary, because obviously basically she headbutts you. She wants a smooch on the nose, which is fine. But then the scary bit comes, which that was not the scary bit. So being headbutted by the dog is considered okay. The problem is we all know that when you go, mwah, you end up with an open mouth. Or so she thinks that's the plan. And she goes to chomp. Now, she doesn't mean to hurt you. She does not mean to take skin off your face. She doesn't, so far to date, she has not achieved it. But she does come up you with an open mouth to go chomp. She will nibble. Yes, you do. Like then. Yeah. As a dog owner, I'm not going to pretend I haven't had a few of those. I can't say that I was particularly up for any of them. But I have indeed had far more dog tongue in my mouth than I was comfortable with. Which, of course, is 0, is the comfortable zone. I don't mind them licking my face, mostly. I do know that there are people who find that horrible, but it is their way of showing affection, and so I do feel a bit bad about the idea of going, oh, no, you can't possibly show me any kind of affection, because that would be wrong. And it doesn't really bother me. But Frenchieing the dog is a little bit too much, you know? I do get annoyed with the licking of the hands. It depends if my hands are cold. My hands are currently warm, so it's not so bad, but I get cold hands quite easily. Pretty much if I do anything for a long period of time, my hand gets cold. As a result, if you then lick them, it's cold and wet, and that's distinctly unpleasant. She's got off again, for Christ's sake. But yes, it is one of those kind of things. So, I hope you all had a good Christmas. Even if Santa did not bring you many things, or any things, it is not necessarily a problem in life. I have no family. And there are times when having no family is a bad thing. There are times when having no family is actually quite a good thing. Makes your Christmases a lot cheaper. It also means you don't have to visit them all. I can understand that. I got up slightly late. I mooched around and mooched around all afternoon and watched a couple of videos of things. Rewatched Pirates of the Caribbean, which I'm rather partial to, and cooked Christmas dinner. Ate an absolute mountain. Holy crap. No, I really did eat a lot. And then sat there feeling a bit full for a bit and went to bed. So that was my Christmas day. Oh, the dogs had a grindy bone in the morning, so they were grind. Did watch Christmas Carol, Muppet Christmas Carol, that is. Watched Die Hard Christmas Eve, because those are compulsory viewing for me over Christmas. I know that there is always the big debate about whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not, but it's set at Christmas. So whether it's a Christmas movie or not, it is set at Christmas. And watching Hans Gruber fall off the Nakatomi building is always a good way to start Christmas. That sounds good. So, what did I have for Christmas dinner? As I don't hugely do vegetables, there was quite a bit of missing vegetables. Do not judge. So, I had, because there's only me, I did not get a turkey because what a waste that would be. I mean, I can eat a lot of food. Do not get me wrong. What was that? Anyway. I can eat a lot of food, but I had... It wasn't a whole chicken. It was a pretty big chicken originally, I can tell you that. But I had a chicken crown. I had... it's basically just the breast meat of the chicken, but still in a kind of shape, with skin. I cooked, well, I'll tell you what I cooked. So I cooked that. I cooked a kilo of roast potatoes, about 750 grams of roast parsnips, 2 roast carrots, which I had to scab off the neighbour because Tesco's decided not to substitute any carrots when I said I wanted carrots. I had, was it 20 pigs in blanket? They're only little tiny short stabby things. Pack of bacon, stuffing balls, stuffing in a tray, and the most disappointing gravy I've ever made in my life. Excuse me. Just didn't fucking taste of nothing. It was special Tesco's extra finest chicken and rosemary and thyme gravy. I might as well have poured water on it. Excuse me one moment. Let me quickly mute for 2 seconds. Hang on. There were suspicious dog noises from the kitchen. Weren't there. Crackhead. Yeah, my gravy just didn't... I mean, Christy, they used to do stuff like that around here, so Santa would get on they'd basically get some form of, pickup truck or something, and Santa would drive around. But as you say, the big... Crackhead. Amy, why are you looking like you've been on the kitchen counter eating my Christmas dinner? Why are you licking your lips so much? Why do you look like you've been getting food you were not supposed to have? Miss? Yes, you. But yeah, no, my gravy was just, didn't really taste of anything. I like my gravy thick. I don't mind how thick. That was distinctly not the problem. Problem was it didn't taste of anything. So I got a few leftovers for today. So I got some of the chicken, pretty much some of everything. So I'm going to, I don't know whether I'm going to warm it up or not, or eat it cold, to be honest. I kind of can do either. Might spread it out a bit by chopping it up into chunks and eating it cold with some pickles and by the way, in England we talk of pickle, not pickles, because there is a distinct difference. pickles, as in it's been stored in vinegar and it's in a jar. And then there's Branston pickle, which is brown. And it has crunchy things in it. Amy, don't even think about it. But it's kind of fruitier. It's a bit weird, but it's a bit fruity. And it's yummy. And goes with fucking everything. So probably some pickle. Stick it in a wrap. Munch, munch, munch. And if you're really lucky, you can have some roast spuds. Yes. Because I'll eat the meat bits and you can have some vegetable bits. How does that sound? Because don't get me wrong. They did get some of everything from Christmas dinner. Yes, you did. You did. I let you. I gave you. Not a lot, because it's not good for you, because it's been cooked for me, but... So it's got more salt in it than if I was cooking it for you. Because salt and doggies is not a good plan. But I did have a lovely Christmas dinner, which is... I'm perfectly capable of cooking. I'm perfectly capable of baking. I'm perfectly capable of all these things. But as I mentioned earlier, bothering. Except for Christmas dinner, I am not queen of bothering. But I do love a good Christmas dinner. Now, I do love a good roast chicken and a good roast, frankly, anything pretty much. But I just can't be bothered, even though it's not actually hard. I mean, I did post a bit in Discord about what I did with my Christmas dinner. Because they all want different temperatures. They all want different lengths. They all want different this. They all want different that. So I wrote actually down all the things, the temperatures they wanted and how long they took. So put them in how long order. And then because I've got a main oven and like a little side oven, I set the side oven to far hotter. So the bird went in the big oven and the cooler things went in the big oven with the bird. The hotter things go in the side oven in heat determined order. So even if you take a long time but you're not as hot, you go on the bottom if you need the heat, but and a shorter time, but you go nearer the top. So it kind of all worked out. The only thing I did do that was a bit stupid, it was on slightly hotter than I meant. And my pigs in blanket, they're not burnt, but they were damn close. So they were certainly slightly overcooked. Could have done better on that. But yeah, everything came out absolutely phenomenal. And let me... That sounds good. Let me show you. It's not the best picture, I will warn you, because, well... My biggest problem with my camera is it's on the back of my phone and it's where I end up putting my fingers. So, do not judge, but this was what I cooked for Christmas dinner. So, you have stuffing here, top left, bird, and lots of pigs in blankets. As you can see, they're a bit darker than they should be. Some carrots, some bacon, some stuffing, some parsnips, and some roast potatoes. The gravy is not featured in the picture. Well, I can tell you now, I ate half of that. That's a lot of food. I literally ate half of that. So, except for the carrots, which I ate all the carrot. So I had my 4 bits of carrot. I ate half the bacon, half the parsnips, half the potatoes, half the pigs in blanket, half the chicken, and half the stuffing. It could do with being a little bit more seasoned, frankly, but I do like my wok. I also like the fact that I've got a 5 hob oven, and as you can see, I've got, if you look at the buttons, I've got a grill here, which is this side above the main oven. I've got the main oven, and then I've got this little side one, hence I do have the option. So basically, these 3 things were in the side oven and these 3 things were in the main oven. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that sounds about right. So Because obviously I put the part of the reason this was in a big tray was not because it needed to be in the big tray, but it meant that I could put something else in it and get it out without chucking it all over the kitchen. So I put that and that in there, and then I had these two on the lower rung. So it took my whole oven, and that was just for me. It does look yummy. It was yummy. Ignore the clock timer because the clock's wrong. It's just that it's got to be set to a time before it will cook. So, yeah, that happens. I just write whatever time it is. I poke all the buttons until it'll allow me to turn the ovens and stuff on. And then, well, it's whatever it is. So whatever time that is, that was not the time. Because it was... that I took that picture at about 6:30 in the evening. Not 4 minutes past 2. So, yeah, that's usually how that works. Because every time we get power cuts, and we don't get a lot here, but we get enough, my oven needs resetting, and you have to poke all the little buttons. It's really quite annoying. So, yeah. Right, I think we should get on with making some stuff. Oh, eat out. Oh, right. I was going to show you that. Let me show you that before. Yeah, after a while you just get bored of trying to set it constantly to the right time. It's not that... I mean, at the end of it, the only time it's really, really, really important that your cooker knows what time it is if you were setting it to come on when you weren't here. So that it would be ready for your return, for example. And I don't do that because I'm here, so as long as it will turn on, I don't care what the timer is. I mean, I could put duct tape or something over it and just pretend it's not there because I don't use the timer on it. I've got a picture face for that, so yeah. But I do have two things I was going to show you all before I went. Before we start with the working, and I know I've been blithering on for a while, so let me show you this. Right, so you will remember I was making this, which has beads in it. Again, not overly apparent from, if I hold it up, you can kind of make out that there are beads in some places. The main look of beads is here. There's beads here, but they're clear. But what you can't see and that I can is that the beads have like a coating on them that makes them kind of slightly coloured-y, reflectively, a bit like petrol and oil has a sheen. It's got that kind of sheen to it. Anyway, that's those, which I know I haven't finished it, bite me. But as I said, I know I haven't finished it, but I was going to do this and make it slightly differently, and then forgot. Yeah, the tension's better. This is looking a lot better, tension-wise as well. I don't like this loop here. This loop here, even though I'm following the instructions, I don't like this loop here much. It's too tall. It looks daft. I mean, if I get back the smaller one, because it's the same shit, just that one's bigger. Because this has got beads in it as well. Not that you can probably tell from there, but it's got beads in it as well. I'm practicing with the beads because obviously it's my first venture with tatting beads. The hardest thing I'm having is that tatting takes a lot of thread. Way more thread than my brain kind of accepted. And I put the beads far down the shuttle, as you can see. And if you can see them, no, you can't really see them on camera. But there are beads here, listen. Right? So there are beads in there. But the biggest problem I have is that I have to put them a few wraps down. Otherwise, they slide up and down the working thread and get on my nerves. So I'll like wind it out to like a couple of meters, it seems, and then slowly work it back onto my shuttle so that the beads are trapped like a couple of meters in the future. And I'll feel like I do next to nothing, and then the beads are already out, and you're like, how did that happen? So one of the biggest problems I do suffer from is, it's quite simple really, is that I'll be busy counting stitches between the picots and all the rest of it, and I forget to join. And that is my biggest issue, is I forget to join things. So I'm trying very hard not to forget. But if you look on this, I mean, this is a good corner because it's been stabilised on both ends. While this loop here doesn't look too bad, if you look at it on this one, I fucked this loop up. I joined in the wrong place. I should have joined there, which doesn't help. But it's too big. It kind of... I wish it was a bit shorter, to be honest. Because this is a paid for pattern. Because I tried to follow the instructions off the YouTube video of her doing it, and well, the instructions are different. Then the written instructions and the pattern instructions are different. Really? That really does surprise me. The reason that surprises me, I guess it depends on the actual work being done. I mean, if you made it out of these squares, I would be very surprised. The reason I say that, of course, is because there's one thread doing all the loops. I know it's not the same thread, but go with it. There's one thread that just makes the pass of the shape, but then there's the thread that makes all the knots that goes round. At least with bobbin lace, they both go there, they twist, they go, job's good, and then move on. The one doing the knot, I would truly, honestly expect this to be far more thread hungry. I would definitely think this would be far more thread hungry. This one's made with the cheap, shitty thread. This one's made with the proper thread that I've got. And it definitely shows. It definitely makes a much nicer, much easier to keep an even tension. Because the problem with this one, although this is quite small and thin thread, and so doesn't suffer as much, I got the same thread in the same size as this, and this constantly wants to undo. It's much more like, I've said this before, but it's much more like working with bonded nylon, and so it just wants to be straight, and you're forcing it. So if you make a stitch and then pause, it's growing and pulling itself apart. So if you... Yeah, I mean, this one is 2 shuttles because you have to use both at some point. But what I did do is I took this pattern with the colouring that they had, which was a bit shit. So they do, in the original pattern she sends this square in orange and the outer bit in purple. Well, of course, ignoring the fact that the colour's my thing, these chains are a different, obviously you do one shuttle to make the loops, but you need the other shuttle to make the chains. So although you don't use a lot of the other shuttle in this, there are 2 shuttles. And so normally, if let's say we're making the purple one makes the loops, right? Because you start a loop. So you make loop, make loop, make loop. This is all the purple one. But when you come to this, the pink one is the one that becomes the apparent thread on the chain, which is fine. It's not a big deal, but if you look at it as a plain colour, it's very easy to transpose which one is your working thread and which one is your kind of core thread. And so I've recoloured this picture. So I've recoloured the square and the outer square to show two different shuttles. Because on this one, on the outer part, these four inner little bits here, so the 4 rings here around the beads here, and the string and that loop and up to there, are one shuttle. These 3 loops and all of this is the other. So I've coloured it that way because, well, it reminds me which shuttle is doing the work, which shuttle is the one ending up on the outside. And if I had different colours, that's where the colours would show. And I find that very helpful to remind me and stop, because I found myself getting to a point and the flow didn't feel right. And part of the reason the flow didn't feel right is because in some situations you use the same thread and continue on. In other situations, you don't. And it's because those who tat know the core thread kind of points down usually, and the working thread points up. The thread that's been doing the knot points up. So if you're going to make a loop, but you're not going to make it from the one that's pointing up, but that's where the loop's going to be, that's a prime time you swap them over by mistake. And so having the coloured bits, I didn't make the best job of colouring it in. I might have to redo it and touch a few bits up, but 99.9% of it is looking good now, and that helps me keep the right flow, I think. One of the other problems is although she's marked where to add all the beads, she tells you which shuttle and when, you know, which shuttle and where the beads are. She doesn't for the outside one. So if the purple one, purple shuttle for example, makes the outside with beads here, because there are no beads for the inner bit, that's fine. If you start here with purple making the inner, these little 4 things, so you make one of the 4 things, you then add, where do you start? So you make 4 things, you then come up here going around this loop. Well, you've brought in the pink thread, and it's the pink thread that goes on the outside. You then make a purple loop, which is fine. All of this works out until you get round to here. Well, and as I said, this is the problem with this is that, you know, these the loops on this on the inner square are done with, let's say, shuttle 1, which I determined to be purple. But on this, on the outside, these 4 little loops and these 2 little loops and the 2 and basically the change that goes between are with this shuttle. All of the rest of it is this shuttle. So it makes it so because there are beads here, obviously you need beads on that, but you need beads on that for here. But she doesn't tell you that. There's also a bead that lives in here. So there's one here, for example. And you know that because she hadn't colour coded it, she'd just done all of the outsiders the same colour as here is the outside portion. It wasn't clear whether you wanted all the beads on the same shuttle, because, well, you could make that happen if you wanted, or not, or how many beads were to go on each shuttle, because obviously the shuttle that makes these 4 little bits, great, because they're all together, great. It was, well, by the time I come here, am I swapping or am I not? Because obviously you've got the chain, and normally the core thread of the chain is the one that you'd make these out of, except it's not. It's the other one. So then you need, well, 2 of those. But is this one on the that one or this one? It could be either. So don't get me wrong, I really do like this, but I feel that this loop here on the edge, you know, this one here is a bit big. Oh, fuck off, Spambots. Why is it that I cannot stream for ages and still get Spambots? Yep, clicking on spam. And they make it so difficult. They can't just go report spam bot. So for this, I mean, I did mean to add 2 more loops. So get here and add a loop that comes in to join to there. Just to fill this gap in a bit more. Nothing amazing, nothing great, just a little bit to stop the big holes. Because obviously in the bigger one, because I've got a bigger one somewhere, but not to hand. On the bigger one, this is considerably bigger, obviously. I mean, this is going to come up to about there-ish, right? These holes end up quite big. And while I don't really care which size thread I work with, it's just thread, frankly. The only time I really care on the size thread I work with is when I'm knitting, because being not excessively skinny, I mean, if I was this big, knitting a jumper for me wouldn't take too long, because it's like, you know, even in the thinnest of yarns, it's maybe 6 stitches across the front. And maybe only 2 if it's chunky. When you're talking a jumper and it's like 140, 150 stitches across the front, time, it adds quite a lot of time to it. And plus, it's going to be a thin ass jumper. And if I'm wearing a jumper, I want to wear a jumper because I'm cold. But I don't generally end up knitting jumpers for myself out of thin yarn. But that's because I don't intend to make jumpers out of thin yarn. There's no reason why it's wrong. I mean, you know, jumpers that go in the in-between times would be good, but I don't. So I don't really mind whether this is fat or thin. It doesn't really make it any harder to me. It makes unpicking it a bit harder. I am using the same beads, by the way, because, well, screw it, why not? But as I say, I meant to add a loop from what would be here, this picot, to here. Just to fill in the gap a bit more, give it a bit more integrity. Because I think that would work quite nicely. It wouldn't make it too busy. I just think that a bead could be quite nice. I also potentially, and I would have to do a lot of counting for this one, is instead of all these extra picots, now obviously some of these picots are used for joining, so the joining picots should be fairly sacred, but all the extra picots could be beads. And I kind of like that idea. Because like when you add these two beads here, they just are little beads that go on the end. They don't show up as well, it's true. But there's beads kind of on this point, and you can't see shit. Hang on. Focus your miserable camera. Come on. There you go. You can possibly, because they're clear, you can't really see it, but there is a bead on the end of each of these two. So, yeah, you can see vaguely that there's some beads on the points of this, and one there. And then on this, there's 4 in the middle there, 1 in the middle there, and 2 on each of these bits. Which, if you compare it to its little brown friend, you can see the beads a bit better because they're a different colour to the thread. But, as I say, I wanted to kind of put 1 loop there and 1 loop there, just to reduce a bit of the hull, because this is quite a big hull. So I will end up making another one of these, of course. But this definitely looks a lot better in terms of flatness. Because if you look at this, for example, while this isn't that bad, it looks pretty scraggy to me. It doesn't look... I mean, one thing I have definitely noticed is watching all the YouTube videos that I watch, their stuff comes out looking pressed and, you know, perfect while they're making it. Not, they make it, wash it, press it, and it looks better. You know, it's theirs looks... I mean, this is not a perfect square, but it's pretty good going. You know, their stuff looks far more like this. And I've definitely found that the thread matters. And I don't kind of understand why it matters quite so much. Thank you. I have other pink and purples. Experimental squares. There you go. So yes, pink and purples. Personally, I like this one. Everyone else in the world seems to like this one. I'm not a pink girl, and I don't know whether it's just because it's pink. You know, if it had been other colours. But purple and pink. I am not a pink girl. I hate pink. I do not own pink shit. But I do like purple and pink as a combination. Everyone likes the pink one. You see, to me, and part of the reason that there are 4 of them, is that if I look at this and I look at, and I try to imagine what it would be if I made an entire thing, whether it's a tablecloth, a window thing, I'll say a net curtain because, well, it's lacy, but a net curtain, a shawl, a scarf, anything that's of substantial size. If I made out of this, that's a heck of a lot of pink. I like the fact that if I bring back this, make a bit of space, right? I know I still haven't sewn the ends in, bite me. But if you take a look at this one, which are these little squares, this is basically that square there. So it lives there. The only true difference with this versus that is that along the edge here, you've got this very thin, flimsy, scraggly kind of non-structurally sound edge. And so part of what I was doing with this was making onions in all 4 corners, much like, you know, some of the more inner portions of this work. But if you now transpose all of the pink over here, you're going to lose a lot, because like this, these show up like petals on a flower. The outside of this ring would be purple. The outside of this ring would be purple. The outside of this ring would be purple. But to an extent, potentially, most of this edging would also be pink. And I just think if pink was not the colour you wanted, pink then becomes quite overpoweringly present in this square. Let me zoom out slightly so you can see a bit more of the whole square. Hang on. Whereas probably the biggest problem is that due to the way it's made, not really. Because I mean, I'm sure you can, but you make it generally with 2 shuttles. So it's either colour A or colour B. And with this one, I like the fact that there is purple as a background. I mean, black would be another colour, right? Purple as a background, and it's decorative. It's a bit fucked up bit there. Let's put my finger on that bit. But it's that you've got like a decorative background, but the pink comes out as like a on the surface pattern. It's a bit almost like it's embroidered on afterwards. And obviously you turn it over and it looks the same, so it's not only on the top, if you see what I mean. Whereas I think if you had more pink like this, the purple would very much disappear, because, well, this would be, you would see a lot more pink round here, because obviously the 4 pinks would meet in the middle, so you would almost lose sight of the purple rings in the middle of those. The only bits that would stay purple for sure would be these bits here. Everything else potentially could be pink. And so I think it would be quite over. Now, it depends on the colours you pick. Now, if I'd done it the other way round, so that you had purple flowers on a pink background, I'd probably be more up for this if I did it in reverse. So you had pink inside and purple on the outside. But then your eyes would be drawn only to the bit in the middle, not to the outside. Whereas for me, this gives you a healthy balance of your brain gets to decide which bit you look at it. Are you looking at the pink petals, or are you looking at the foundational purple behind it? Your brain gets to decide. I think if if I'd made it more like this, you start losing choice. You're drawn to the pink because it's the brighter colour. Now, although there is brighter colour here, there's a lot less of it. So you get to look and concentrate on the other bits. And it's all in your head, frankly. Brains are good at that. So yeah, I do have other squares which I screwed up, but they're kind of buried a bit. So here was me trying the first pink one. Comes with free hair, look. Seems compulsory in this house. So usually mine or the dog. I did do another one. This was a purpley one that didn't go so well, so I abandoned thought on that one. There is another one where I did this and I ended up with a 5-pointed star, which was a little bit embarrassing because I got to here and got to the corner, made another one, turned the corner, and I hadn't joined it. As I was explaining, I'm very bad at remembering to do joins, and I realised only later that I'd got a 5-pointed square, so that was not a good plan. But I'm playing with these in my spare time. Most of this was this morning, so this white one was this morning. So it grows at a reasonable rate. The hardest part for me is definitely the last join. Definitely struggle with that. Where have I got to on this one? Okay. But I don't like this loop. This loop just seems too big. There are times I've miscounted on here, which is part of the problem. But yeah, there are times when it's just... I don't like it being as big as it is. I need to... The problem is, although I am very good at experimenting, I mean, you know, I guess because I haven't quite... I mean, I was very quick for crochet to start experimenting. I literally, first thing I made, I already went, I don't want those bits in it. I'm not doing that bit. Right? But when it comes to tatting, I have not felt... I think because I'm still prone to making a lot of stupid mistakes, I don't tend to venture too much. And as I said, part of my problem is that I'm so busy counting knots and loops that I forget hitches. Sorry, not count. Hitches and loops, that I forget to do the joins because I'm too busy counting. So, for example, on this bit here, you do 4 and then 7 lots of 3. Well, you do a picot and 3, and then 7 times. So by the time I've done that, I've forgotten to join it when you do this bit, because you join it to here. So as you, well, yeah, well, whichever way around you're doing it, because this is the way I'll be working it. But you know, you do 1, you do your 4, your picot, 3 join, and then a bunch. And instantly, I've already forgotten to join it because I'm too busy concentrating on having 7 lots of 3 with picots. It's not like you can put in stitch markers in advance. Because, of course, if it was a knitting thing, you'd put in stitch markers wherever you were going to do joins. Can't do that with this because they don't exist yet. But, other than this one, which as you can see is slightly oddly shaped because I've joined in the wrong place, because I'm a donut, but I am enjoying making this, for the most part. I definitely do enjoy making this, so, points inwards. But yeah, so for example, this is where it starts going a little bit weird, because obviously I've just made a loop out of the purple, so pink is on top like that, and now I'm going to make, now I would be making the really long loop with all the picots in and needing to remember to do the join. But it's too easy to cross these over and not realise. She said slightly off camera because she was looking at what she was looking here and not there. You know what I mean? But it's too easy for these to get crossed over and end up doing it all wrong, which is why I've recoloured the picture to remind me, so that I have a little bit more control, because, well, that was a thing. Time to do some lacy lace. As I said, really annoyed at having managed to lose one of these. It is not gone forever. It is somewhere in the darkest depths of Mount Cratmore, I think. But I do need to have a tidy up. And I've been thinking of doing a tidy up, which is going to sound really pathetic, because it is. But the fact that I've been thinking about it is definitely a sign of improvement. Now, me and Mount Cratmore, we have history. Mount Cratmore started growing quite a few years ago. In fact, pretty much the day I moved in. So let's not pretend that Mount Cratmore is a recent invention. Mount Cratmore is distinctly that. But it is something that it doesn't bother me for its existence. And that is part of my problem. I am not bothered by its existing. What I am annoyed by is the fact that I've lost a wooden thing. And the drive to find the wooden thing will help me drive to clear some, or probably only some, of Mount Cratmore. Because the moment I find it, I'll probably stop. But that's fine, because I will have cleared some of Mount Cratmore. So, for that purpose, but at least I am feeling inclined to potentially do it. Which is something I've been struggling with, and the not wanting to, for a while now. Because, well, I'm not domesticated, frankly. I'm really not. Yeah, you look all kinds of wrong. You definitely look all kinds of wrong. So let me unpin you a second. Work out where we're at. So that's good. That's fine. Now, you've come undone because you're annoying. But I have been rather annoyed with myself for how little progress we've made this month. But it is not a race. It is not, you know, no one's going to die because I haven't done it. You know, it's... I've said this to you before. If you make it a chore, if you make yourself doing it when you're really not in the mood for it, it becomes a chore, and then you become to resent it. And that can be a path very hard to get back from. Because once you resent, oh, I've got to do it, oh, I fucking hate this, you know, kind of teenagerism that you get, you will always resent it. You will always have, that resent is built into it. Now, there's a difference between kind of not in the mood, but I'll do it anyway. That's not so bad. But when you're sitting there going, oh, I really don't want to do that, don't do it. Do not do it, because you'll resent it. And if you do it well, you resented it. A, you're more likely to make mistakes. But B, you'll just remember the resentment. And, you know, you don't want to look back on it as wasted time. But that's kind of where your brain will draw you to. And so I've been giving my brain the permission to not. And well, it's been in that mood for a while, which is concerning because it was really pumped to do this. And the worst part is it still is. And as I said to you before, I liken it much to doing the gardening. Everybody likes looking at a beautiful garden, but not everybody likes sitting there spending their entire spare time weeding, primping and trimming and doing all the things that you can do to keep your garden looking at its best. Now, some of us go a bit more practical and therefore try and go with a low maintenance garden that pretty much you cut the grass and a couple of times a year, trim a few plants kind of thing, and leave it at that. But the truly beautiful gardens have different flowers for every month of the year that have to be nurtured and planted, and or because they're not always the kind that will come back, and you know, all of those kind of moments. And well, that's a lot of effort. And it does make it difficult if that's not how you want to spend your time. But you still want to end up looking at a pretty car. And the answer to that is you hire a man to do it for you. But of course, he's going to charge you more per hour than it would cost you to do it. Now, it can still be cost effective because if you don't want to do it, the cost to you of not doing it is sufficiently high. There was a thing I saw on Threads yesterday about a woman who needed a new zipper in her winter coat. And she was moaning because she'd taken it somewhere and they'd quoted to put in a full adult zip long winter coat. So I'm assuming it's not kind of, shoulder to ankle zip, but somewhere in between. They'd quoted her $35. And she was moaning because her coat didn't cost that much. And as half the crafters on the thing wrote back, well, that's why you need a new zip in it. Because your coat costs less than $35. And basically everyone who could sew was writing, the fact that they only wanted to charge you $35, you should have bitten their hand off. Most of them was going, I wouldn't even look at that for less than 50. Oh, man, we're selling. And it was kind of like, and if the coat costs that little, just go and buy a new one. If you're moaning that you don't want to pay that much because the coat only costs $35, costs less than that, think about it like you would your car. Most people, if you paid 5,000 currency units for your car, and you took it down because it needed a service or it made a funny noise, and they went, yes, madam, that'll cost you 5,000 units to fix it, well, chances are you're going to go and find a new one that doesn't have that problem. Because, well, it's new and it will come with a bit of a warranty. And when I say new, I don't necessarily mean brand new, I mean new to you. But certainly in the UK, when you sell things, you have a right for it to be usable on sale. So, as a result, unless specifically categorically stated that this thing is falling apart, it's for spares only, if you buy a car, you can expect for it to be reasonably working for at least 6 to 12 months, depending, right? And this is part of the deal, is that if you spend money on something, there is a point where you're going to say it's not worth me spending money on repairing it. I'll buy a new pair. Or a new one or whatever, right? And that's not a wrong thing. Because, that's how farmers treat animals. It's not that they don't care, they do. But if you've paid 100 quid for a cow, you're not going to spend more than 100 quid fixing it. Because, well, it's already cost you. You can buy a new one for less than that. And I need to sort this out because it's gone a bit weird. There it is. Right. So, as a general rule, if it costs to fix more than it costs to buy, well, you buy a new one because, well, it's new. So, although it is wasteful to throw away an item of clothing that you could have repaired, if you're not capable of repairing it and don't have the parts to hand, well, you have to ask yourself, someone who's got the skill and the effort and the time and the willingness is going to charge for that. And if their charge is sufficient, well, it doesn't matter how much you love it. If you're not prepared to pay that, well, it's not going to work then, is it? They're not going to fill that in for you. They're not going to do it out of the goodness of their heart just because you can't be bothered. Now, obviously, to an extent, with sewing, it's not necessarily just because you couldn't be bothered. Because, well, that's not always true. Sometimes it purely is because you couldn't. 2, 3, 4. Because not everyone can sew. I mean, in principle, sewing a zip-on is fairly easy. In practice, not so much. So even if you can sew, putting a zip in a pair of trousers or over a pocket is one thing. Putting it on a full-length coat and getting it looking posh and... well, that's a bit harder, right? I mean, it's not technically hard, but getting it right can be. It's like a lot of things. It's like bobbin lace. The art of bobbin lace is really, really simple. Getting it right, that's a bit harder. Same with tatting. You know, you either put your tattle through this way or you put it through that way. Job's a given. But it's not that simple, is it? You want your picots to be exactly the same size. Well, yeah. And then you want to make the joins look nice. Well, yeah. Then you want to do this. Well, yeah. And it can easily go a little bit awry. So, it's not necessarily that it is hard. It's hard to do it good. And if you don't want to pay for that, that's fine. But don't expect everyone else not to want paying to do it for you. Because, well, I mean, we've all seen it. You know, the likes of, you know, the kind of Karen attitude of, well, I shouldn't have to do this. You should do it. Well, why should I do it, love? It's yours, not mine, you know. You're the one who wants it. I'm not. You know, if this doesn't, you know, if the coat doesn't get a zip in it, I'm not the one that's scolded. My life won't change if it hasn't got a zip in it. I don't care. And people forget that that is distinctly part of what you're paying for, is that you want it, not the person who can do it. Because, well, technically you can do it too. Practically, maybe not so well. You know, much like we were saying with my tatting, my stitches have got distinctly better. But the principle is that well, exactly, and this is the thing, over a short period of time, if you're making like a pencil case for your kid, right, it's at most a 6-inch zip, and frankly, you could pretty much glue it on. Because it's a pencil case, nobody cares, right? When it comes to your coat, as you've said, there are all the layers. There's the inner, the fluff, the outer, maybe some decorative shit, it's all got to be put together, otherwise it's going to look like you did it in a blind drunken rage. And much like my tatting, as we've said, my tatting is looking a lot more even. And that's a good thing, and it truly is. And I'm definitely going to order me some more colours. I need to talk to the person whose colours it is, because she does do stuff, but the only place she seems to advertise more colours is on Etsy. Hey, Net Kisser. Hope you had a good Christmas. But they're like nearly a third more expensive on Etsy. And I seem to recall... I'd have to check, because obviously when you look at a product on Etsy, it will tell you the delivery cost is X. So let's say it's £5 because it's an easy number, right? And if you buy 10 things, it will tell you that sometimes it will say the delivery cost is £5 for 10 things, it is £5 for any delivery cost. Or sometimes it'll go, for 10 things, that'll be £50, please. And a lot of them will keep any spare. Now, I have had quite a few when I was ordering Lord Bobbins, who did return the difference. So you may recall I was hunting a particular type of bobbin, and they kind of went, and they were a bit expensive, but I really, really wanted, so I bought some bobbins anyway. And then they refunded a load of it because it didn't cost them that much to ship it. Well, effectively then I had money I'd already thought I'd spent back and could spend on more bobbins. So I did. Because that's Liz logic for you. If I think I've already spent it, well, it's not my money and you've just given me free money to buy things. But it is a flaw with Etsy in that it's not overly clear how the delivery costs are going to pan out pretty much until you hit go. But I do want to get some more of the posh thread. So she says move that and that. So although this is not the best examples, hang on, I do a thing with this thread because there isn't an easy way to store it. So let me just quickly do this. I'll explain what I'm doing in a minute. For anyone who does tatting, you probably likely know that you make a two half hitches to put around your thread to make your tatting knot. Well, you can do the same around the top of one of these, except that it keeps doing that, which is slightly annoying. You can do half hitches around the top to try and keep the thread still, which is what I'm trying to do. Put half hitches around the top, try and hold it kind of in place so that it doesn't unravel and tangle up and cause too much mayhem. I'm just going to keep hitching until I run out of thread. Hang on. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but you're not really missing out, I promise. Because with any luck, this might actually stay on a bit. Probably not, but we can give it a go. Right. And then there's the brown one, which also suffers from the same shenanigans. So let me... I can't put my glasses on. I know I still haven't bought new glasses. I was meaning to do that over the break, and I've only got technically 3 more days working break between when I go back to go back. So this time next week I will have been at work, which is slightly disappointing. But there we go. Almost there. Hang on. Put one more in. So I have these 2 threads. Now, I know obviously one's thinner, one's brown, one's not. But this is the cheap thread. This is the posh one. And you can tell because it comes with a sticker. So I definitely intend to get more of this posh one. Because this thread is... If you think of like knitting... Most of you, if you've ever handled any yarns of any quantity... you will have handled some acrylic yarn. Now, you may be a yarn snob, and there's nothing wrong with being a yarn snob, and refuse to knit or crochet with anything that's made of acrylic. Or maybe, depending on what it is, because I find that... So, for example, I am a yarn snob, but at the same time, I'm not a yarn snob. So, by preference... If I was making a jumper, I would want to make a woolen jumper because, well, it's a good thing to make it from. If I was knitting a pair of socks, I would want it to be primarily wool with a little bit of stuff to try and help it last a bit longer. Because if I'm bothering to knit you a pair of socks, I don't want it to die from the first walk to the corner shop and back. But the truth of the matter is that if you're making a baby blanket, wool is not necessarily the right substance. Because wool needs to be washed carefully, it needs to be cool, and it needs to be laid flat, and it needs all of those kind of things. Babies puke and shit on things. They need to be washed at a high enough temperature, which is kind of not conducive to being made of wool. The right acrylic can be soft. The wrong acrylic is crunchy. It's a bit like plastic. So, for example, this is a crunchy plastic. But if I went and got some cellophane, it would look roughly the same, but we all know that cellophane doesn't make crunchy noises. And acrylic can have that. You can get crunchy, scratchy acrylic, and you can get really soft acrylic. And sadly, you won't know which it is if you've never used that particular brand before until you get it. And then you get it and go, oh. Now, I've done that with a few, but I've also done that with some that are beautifully soft and frankly glorious. You would never know that, frankly, it's cheap shit. Because acrylic is, well, cheaper. And the same is true with these two yarns. The posh stuff is much softer and silkier to the feel. The cheap stuff feels hard. Now, it's not hard and crunchy, but the soft stuff kind of, if you grab hold of it, disappears in your finger. The hard stuff, you can feel like there's a solid object between your fingers. The white stuff doesn't. And so the brown stuff is more like my beading needle here. I noticed that if I hold it right, you can't see it, which is kind of funny. But brown stuff is more like holding a beading needle or a needle, in that you feel the hardness and roundness in your fingers. Whereas the posh stuff, you can, I mean, I'm not saying you can't feel it, but you don't consciously go, well, that's quite hard. But it clearly is. I mean, I don't know what the difference is because they're both Vega threads, whatever the hell that means. But one is good and one is not. Now, there is a type of thread that I would like to try, which is Sandbest, which lots of people rate and rave over for tatting. The only place I've seen that will sell it, of course, is Temu. The biggest rip-off island, out of it all. As a result, not overly keen on buying off Temu. So, I'm a bit stuck with that one because clearly I need to find somewhere that will sell it direct. And so far, I have not found one. But I would like to try it because lots of people rate about it. The biggest problem I have with Temu is half the things go, look, we've got all the things. It will look great. It will be wonderful. Why does that look faulty? It's because it is. I see a fire. Let us go back and review the faux pas, because somewhere in here this doesn't look right. And that I totally understand. And I don't disagree. I do think that not everyone is going to be up for spinning something quite that fine, to be honest. That is not necessarily something a lot of people would feel comfortable with. And to be honest, I have never really spun with cotton, or I've spun silk, to be fair. But I probably wouldn't use silk for tatting. Yeah. I also think for me, I would feel very conscious that my spinning would need to be ridiculously even. Not that I don't aim for my spinning to be even. Of course I do. You know, my aim with all my spinning is for people to go, you mean you didn't buy that level of evenness? You know. But still, practically, knowing that I'm human, that there will be variations, that I would feel conscious that that would show too much in my end product. That looks better. So yeah, I would feel quite self-conscious about that. It's the same with my bobbin lace. I'd want to have too much would be about whether whether it was even enough or not. I would feel pretty guilty if it was not. Let me quickly respond to poor old Fluce. So yeah, I think that's always my biggest fear with spinning, is I want it to be almost machine level consistency. Okay. See, that's a bit different to what I was thinking. I was thinking actual spinning it rather than plying it together. Because if you're saying two sewing threads spun together, that implies that you're plying two threads together and then plying it again, which is nothing wrong. Definitely nothing wrong with that. But I was thinking a big ball of fluff producing the single, etc. which leaves lots of room for variation. But applying some sewing threads together, absolutely. Definitely could do that. Because one of the things that I do find a bit weird in some of the tatting videos is they obviously wanted a thicker thread, didn't have it, so they just used 2 strands and then try and hope that they kind of mesh together and don't look weird when you do picos, which of course inevitably they do. So you kind of go, well, if you wanted that, you should have applied it all together properly, you know, and then it wouldn't look like 2 strands met up and had a bit of a dance. It would look like one fat strand and it would look good. So yeah. There's a dog who's poking me in the butt, aren't you? There's a doggy poking me in the butt. Okay. What are you making it from? What's your fibre type? Must admit, I don't think I've ever spun anything quite that thin. I've not had... Because 42... This isn't 2, is it? Okay. I mean, this is 43. So this is 3 ply. I have never spun anything quite as thin as that. Hello, Rory. Did you need some love? You feeling lefted out? Your sister gets jealous. Yes, she does. Hello. See, this is one of the things. When she was having her hugs earlier, Rory just let her have her hugs and was prepared to wait his turn. When he's getting his hugs, she feels left out. And I end up with 2 dogs trying to get in on the act. Don't I? You hardly ever get to have hugs and peace by yourself, do you? Oh! Here's a question for anyone who is also a fellow dog home sharer. Why is it a dog can come to you and go bop, bop, and walk into you, knock you, tread on you, but the moment you touch them, oh my god, you'd have thought the world was going to end. I do it with these 2. If I'm sitting here, then I'm confused because that won't be 42. .42's, well, almost this kind of thickness. I mean, I know this is 3-core, but 3-core is generally not much bigger than 1. Okay, but this is 40. This is the size of 40, so whether it's got 3 or whatever cores is irrelevant. You're telling me you're going to make this, you're going to spin something that's basically half the width of this, so that you can ply 2 together to make 42 like this. That's not going to be for knitting. It's certainly not going to be for arm knitting. So, but you're making wool this thin. Because this is 40. Because this is where the problem comes, is that 42 in one fibre is not 42 of another fibre. And hence you can't just get two 40s and join them together and substitute it, because it doesn't work that way. Hello. Confused by that. Confused, Rory. I know it's easily done. Rory wanted a hug, so Rory's getting a hug. You having a hug? Amy, just stay sat still for 5 minutes. Can you, please? Rory wants a hug. He's allowed hugs. Just like you're allowed hugs. But Rory tends to be a lot quieter, calmer, and less crack-headed. So he's easier to hug because he just comes and lies down and lets him and enjoys his hugs. You seem to want to be climbing a mountain, riding a motorcycle at 120 miles. I didn't know you could get arm knitting sized acrylic. I mean, to be fair, this tatting thread that I've been using is arguably acrylic because, well, it's polyester, so it's made of plastic, which is all that acrylic really is. Wonder what would happen. Idle thought, do not try this, anybody could. You know how, like, they make spun sugar? So in the UK we call it candy floss, right? By pouring some sugar crystals into a candy floss machine, it heats it up and spins it out so that it flies out, so that you get these long, very thin tendrils of thin sugar. I wonder what would happen if you put acrylic into a candy floss machine, and so it spun it out, whether you'd get basically acrylic floss that you could then spin to make acrylic yarn from. I wonder if that would work. I still want a 3D printer. I might have to treat myself to a 3D printer, but I really want a 3D printer. Are you going to sleep there, Rory? No, we are awake, sort of. I'm not sure we know what day of the year it is, but we are awake. What? What do you hear? Amy! Why is it that you've got to trample everything? It makes you so annoying. I mean, don't get me wrong, when Rory wants a hug, there's very little I can do to say no. When a nearly 50-pound dog wants a friggin' hug, you give it one. But, actually, he's probably just over 50 pounds, actually. Yeah, probably over 50 pounds. Let's ask how many pounds you are in the world. Yeah, you're 55 pounds worth of dog. It's hard to say no to 55 pounds worth of dog. That's weight pounds, not cost pounds, obviously. Let me just finish this stitch before I forget. Right, let me have a quick look on Discord. Okay. Yeah, you look like you've got some possibly anchor, maybe not, thread there, the actual thread on spools. Arm knitting, okay. The arm knitting's not as thick as I was expecting it to be for arm knitting, but I guess they're expecting you to do it maybe as it's plaited, perhaps. A little ball of spun stuff by the looks of it. I think the biggest problem we have with all of crafting is so many times they reuse words in different contexts to mean different things. So a bit like woolen spinning is not about spinning wool. Okay. But yeah, I think, you know, as I was saying, is that you've got worsted and woolen spinning, but instantly your brain automatically thinks of wool when it's not about wool at all. And it's almost like out of all the words in the entire universe, you've got worsted yarn, which it could be how it's spun or a thickness. You've got woolen yarn, which could be how it's spun or a fibre type. Just pick one word to have one meaning. Now, I appreciate that, for example, the Eskimos got 52 words for snow. I'd rather have 25 different words for the same thing than one word that means 25 different things. Because, well, it's very confusing. And like I said, one of the things that I do hate about spinning is that, you know, if you have wool and silk and cotton and frankly anything else, and you say it's an 8-2 cotton, Well, yeah, 8-2 cotton will be the same size as any other 8-2 cotton. That's great. But it won't be the same size as linen. It won't be the same size as wool. It won't be the same size as silk. They all have their own number. So you can get 8-2 of each, but they won't be the same size. Well, that's just shit. And one of the biggest problems that I have with the whole, this is the one theory, because for those who don't know, the best way to explain what 8-2 means. So 8 means 2 means there's 2 of them. Okay, that's the easy bit. That's the only bit that is a true statement. The 8 means that out of whatever fibre that was, the fibre that you took, you were destined per kilo, in current modern times, to make a thread 8 times longer than the one. But it doesn't tell you how long it will be. It doesn't tell you how thick it is. There was a thread that someone took, either a pound in olden days or a kilo in modern days, and spun a thread. It was deemed the one. Your thread, in relation to that, whether it's one you buy or make, is then destined to be thinner, fatter, whatever, than the one. Usually thinner, somehow. So you get 8-2, 16-2, 42, whatever, right? So 40 says 40 times the length of the original one. But that does not mean it's 40 times as thin. The reason you have to take that into account is if you go and look Google, because few of us remember our school children and stuff, of the volume of a cylinder. The volume of mass, if the tube is 40 times longer, it's not going to be 40 times thinner. Therefore, 16-2 applied together is not going to be the same as 8-4. Because, well, it's not. Especially as the 40 refers to the plies and the 2 says there's 2 of them. So let's say 16. If you're going to make 8-4, you might actually need 5 16s to make the same as an 8-4. They're not fractions. It doesn't work that way. Now it's close, right? But obviously, the longer and further it gets away, so let's say 40, if you have 42 and you wanted to make the equivalent of 8-2, for example, you're going to need quite a lot of 40s. It's not going to be 5. It's not. It'll be 6 or 7, maybe more. And this makes it really confusing because, as I've said, one of the biggest problems you get is that what is 8-2 in one is an 8-2 of another. Well, it is, but it's not the same size. It's a bit like if I've got a ton of feathers and a ton of lead, which one's going to weigh more? The answer is neither. But your brain assumes the feathers is the lead that will weigh more because it's made of heavier stuff. It's more complicated than just weight and all the rest of it. So it is. That's right. There's some. I don't know whether. I think my glasses have degenerated even further than I had given them credit for. And I've got a cough now because I've been talking all this time. Hang on. Let me lick my glasses and see if it comes off. Because it's like it's a grub mark, but I think it's just degeneration even further than it was. No, it's degenerated further than it was. So, really is terrible. Must buy a pair of glasses. So yeah, it is. For me, it's a bit like sewing weight. It's just called 40 weight or 50 weight. It doesn't tell you anything. But 40 weight is the thickness of the thread, sort of. But it doesn't tell you how many plies there are, doesn't it? But at least generally, if you've got 40 weight of one thing, it will be 40 weight at the same size as 40 weight of another thing. So you can at least kind of transpose those. But this doesn't always apply, and it does make it very difficult. And I think it's this stuff, that kind of stuff, that really does put a lot of beginners off, is that it should be simple. It should be nice and easy to, you know, go, well, I can't afford the posh stuff, I want the other stuff, this stuff will do. It doesn't work that way. I mean, even as a knitter, sometimes, depending on the yarn, the colour will change the thickness of the yarn enough that you'd notice. So if you buy, like my purple and pink thing, let's say you're going to make a jumper out of purple and pink stuff, you buy some yarn, you buy the same make, so hopefully it's as close as it's going to get, because there's always a bit of variance with knitting yarns. So you buy, I don't know, so-and-so's, you know, double knitting, the same flavour, so whichever model they've numbered, label, weird thing they've called it. But you buy 2 different colours. And let's say you're going to knit some stripes. So you start off, you do your test swatch, you've worked out that, right, I need, you know, this is my gauge, hallelujah. Knitty, 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 knitty. Oh, change to the other colour. Well, now it's either tighter or looser. It's hardly ever the same. And sometimes it's really pronounced. And to the point that what can look fairly thick and chunky in one colour will look really skinny and miserable in another, and you're like, I can't do that. And you actually end up giving up on that pattern, because while you may have knit half a thing, you now are left with a problem where you can't use the yarns that you were using because it looks bloody awful. And you don't really want to mix and match fibre types, so the only real true answer is to rip it and start again with different yarns. There are times you can get away with it. So if you're doing some form of Fair Isle, or you're doing some form of what's it called? Starts with an A. It's like a plique, but not. It's knitting. It's where you make chunks of things anyway, where you use, you know, bigger patterns, you know, like you do a snowman on a blue jumper or whatever. Starts with an A, and I can't think of the name of it. But when you do that, you can sometimes get away with it because, well, it is at least the pattern. But sometimes you can't. And that is quite disappointing, because it's not always apparent until you've started knitting it, and you rarely ever do test swatches in all of the colours that you're going to use to check that they're the same. And sometimes it can be one ball of yarn's just a lot thinner than the rest. Makes it feel a bit more human made, but sometimes you don't want it to feel that human made, if you know what I mean. Let's put you out the way, I need the space. I'm beginning to be hungry. It's been quite impressive, really, considering how much food I ate yesterday. I'm surprised I'm hungry, but there we go. I'm beginning to feel hungry. So it'll be time. He was going to let himself in. You do not have to tell him off. You need to go in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. Oh, children. Stop being so excitable. But yes, I'm getting hungry, and so I know you are too. I am aware. Yes, Amy, get your face out. Can't see. Ah! Hello, dogs. Hello, you've got a cold, wet ear. Has he been chewing on your ear again? You made your ear all cold and wet. Did you go outside and make it cold and wet? Yes, little puppy dogs. Yes, little puppy dogs. You're good little puppy dogs sometimes. You are. Oh, off you go. You want to stay there? You can stay there if you're good, boy. If you're annoying, you've got to go. No, that's proving to be annoying. This is why my hip hurts, young lady. Hello, Tinch Tinch. This is why my hip hurts, isn't it? Because you get on there and you constantly stand on it and end up yanking it in odd directions. I worked it out because that's exactly what you just did. Because you can't balance on it, you make it wiggle in directions that it's not overly impressed with. Yes. And now I've got too much dog. There is a bit too much dog. Mr. Paws. OBS has just shit itself. Alright, there it goes. There we go. There was a brief internet fart by the looks of it. Stop licking my hands! It's very difficult to do this with a dog in the eye. Oh, they're just being annoying. They're not being naughty per se, they're just being annoying. They were both trying to sit on me at the same time, for which there is not a lot of room. Stop licking my wretched hands! I said stop licking my hands! Animal. I love you dearly, but it doesn't mean... Having £100-odd dog in your lap is very difficult. Especially when there's two of them. Because it's not like one lump of £100 dog. It's two distinctly, unrelatedly moving objects totaling £100 of dog. And I do love you both. But I'd love you even more right now if you'd fuck off and do something else. Yes. Well, I've got Amy on one leg, Rory on the other. Rory's the one trying to lick my hands, because he does that. And he's in the way, because he is lying kind of, well, there, as you can tell. Hence there is now a dog ear in shot, because... Is that your new pillow? Is it? Is that... Hello. Rory's got both hands. He's pinned the other one down with his massive claws. Yes. And you're hitting things on my table, young lady. Aren't you? I said stop licking my hands. I did. Very much. Ow. Ow. Claws. You won't let me trim them, so you can't be annoyed with me when I find it painful. Because you claw at me with your clawsy claws. And you, young lady, singety sing sing. Do not think Rory has got off my lap. He hasn't. He's just moved. Chrissy says, can you allow me to work? Hmm. She does. No, that wasn't get on my lap more. I do love you though, little man. I do, yes, I know. This is as far as I can reach now. I do love you, little man. You pulled it off. Oh. Puppy, puppy, puppy. Woof, woof, woof. Puppy, puppy, puppy. Woof, woof, woof. What? Stop licking my hands. No. You are a good boy and you're hungry. Yes, I am aware. Well, I'll tell you what, if you let me finish this little bit, we'll go and get dinner afterwards. Does that sound good? Magic word and a little brown dog has appeared. Oh, oh, Rory! I wasn't ready for that. I cleaned my glasses. Little man. I need to breathe. Oh, little man. No, I just need to breathe without dog tongues. Stop trying to lick up my nose. I do love you, but I don't want to French kiss the dog. I have washed. You know that, right? I have washed today. You're a good boy. Yeah, sure. You're a good little boy, really. Yes, sure. You're a good boy. Rory turned round and decided to sit on me like a small child would, looking at me, and then decided to lick my face a lot. So you have to press your lips very, very firmly together, because raspy tongues will pull them apart, and then get at your teeth and you'll go, and then you get a mouthful of tongue. Yes, he was deciding to kiss his mummy and tell her how much he loves her, which I know. I do. Not more. Round two. Very good boy. You are. And I know you love me. I do. Because you shine me in lots of ways. You do. And I love you too. I do. You often snick best spot in bed, which basically means you sleep where I was trying to sleep. And I've got permanent backache from trying to sleep with a 100-pounder dog lying on my duvet and in the way, making me sleep at stupid angles. Yes, I do. And it's all you. Yes, it's nearly all you. Because she sleeps around my feet and I can move my feet round a bit. It's the rest of me that doesn't really move around a bit because, well, I need space. And duvet. Yes. Hello, Amy. Oh, no, more Rory. Oh, I know, you've got me. You do. Yes, I know. My poor glasses, I cleaned them. Stop licking them. What? Oh no. That's got teeth in it, my friend. I was trying to avoid that. You. Oh well. Let me clean my glasses again. I do love you ever so much, but you don't need to get your tongue in my mouth. Especially as I know which bits of you clean with that mouth. Let's truly be honest here. Well, I think the answer is this. We're hungry here. And we need to go and do the foodie thing. For sure. So once again, we haven't actually done that much lace. We've done a bit. Every bit counts. But we've talked lots of things. We've talked about my tatting things. We've done some lacy things. I've been molested by the dogs. A little bit more than I was happy with, but you know. So, hello. I know you went outside for all of 2 seconds, and now you're back because you're hungry. Yes, I know you are. Because I'm hungry too. I am. And the sun is setting, yes. It's getting darker out. Mr. Bat will be out soon. He will. It's a bit cold for Mr. Bat though. Do you want feeding, or do you just gonna like maul me until you can eat me because I've died of starvation myself? Is that how this works now? Because that's distinctly looking like it's your plan. Right, so let me take a photograph of where we got to. Children, you need to give me enough space to do this. You really, really do. Actually, let me clean the back of my camera because it looks like you wiped your butts on it, pretty much. It's a bit better. Let's have a look at that. Quickly glancing over it for errors. Nothing screamingly obvious, which is always a bonus because we know we've done that one in the past. Right. Hello. Mr. Paws would like to have some dinner. Amy definitely would second that opinion. And I'm hungry because, hold on, Rory, you headbutt that again. I would say it would hurt, but you haven't got anything in there, have you? No, you've a bit's a spare bit. But I'm being molested because we're hungry. Yep, we're hungry, so it is time for dinner. Thank you for joining me today. We will return over the new year. I do endeavour to do more again like I had been. It still may not be every day, but I really do want to get back to doing more of this. So I was just looking at the fluff on the pillow there. So yes, I because otherwise, well, it'll be like I'll be 98 before I finish, and that's not what we need. Well, it's always good to see you all here, and I appreciate you for coming. As I say, I do apologise for not streaming more often, but as I said, I don't want to, oh, fucking don't want to, and make a chore of it, because then I'll resent it. So, hence, I've been not. And although I don't necessarily want to do... Hey, Sugar Bear, thank you. I don't necessarily want to do it every Friday, but I don't feel so bad about doing something once a week that I'm maybe not 100% enthusiastic behind. But doing it every day when you don't want to do it, you do build up resentment. And so hence, I've been doing every Friday, even though maybe there's a bit of me going, oh God, I don't really want to. But I do enjoy it once I'm doing it. So I think, hence, I think that's a good balance in that, you know, doing a bit of what you don't necessarily want to do is good for your soul to get it done. I mean, it's called housework after all. But you do have to do some. You have to do enough. You have to do... But at the same time, I just don't want to resent it. So I will be back. Certainly will be back New Year's Day. I don't celebrate New Year's Eve particularly because I don't drink, and it's pretty much all people ever really do with New Year's Eve. So, but yeah, I will see you again, if nothing else, this time next week. It's hard to believe that that's a week away, because today that feels a really long time away, because, well, it'll be next year. But it's not. It's only a week. So, this time next week, hopefully, well... Anyway, time to go and get some food because my stomach's rumbling. They're miserable. It's the thing. Thanks, Tenchi. Yeah. But yeah. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for standing by me throughout this year. And all the good things that you guys bring me. Because it's nice to talk to you. I do enjoy talking to all of you. I enjoy annoying dogs slightly less. Yes, you, miss. Ow! Stop trampling me! That was her stomach, not mine. You're that hungry, are you? Are you really? Are you really that hungry? Well, I shall go and feed the dogs before they eat me. Because sometimes I really do think that they would do that if I didn't feed them quick enough. And I will see you again soon. Always feel free to talk in Discord, chat amongst yourselves. There is a voice chat. We can occasionally fire up chat and have conversations. I don't tend to lurk on it, you know, as general whole, because I've got to put a thing in my ear, and otherwise you end up with lots of feedback, and I don't tend to do that. But you know, if you've got something you want, you know, maybe you want to show people or whatever, you know, feel free to post that. As long as it's safe for work, I don't care, kind of, really. But yes, take care, and I shall speak to you all soon. And I hope you have a good New Year's Eve if I don't speak to you beforehand. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.